What's up? Come on into the room. We welcome you to another moment of Marriage Village Month. Hopefully, you have had yourself an amazing day. Come on in here. And when you get in, do me a favor. Let us know by putting your name in the comments field so we can respond to you and tell you a good hello. If you're on, let us know who's there. Would love to be able to tell you hello. Oh yes,
We got two. Let's go.
Elder says, what's up?
What up, Sissy?
I can see the other person because you haven't made known yourself. Come on in here. Who goes there? Happy Monday to you. You know what it is, sis. Oh yes. You know what it is. It's time to have this conversation. Get yourself on in the house so we can have this conversation and get to doing this Marriage Village Monday. I'm gonna slide this down because I like Brother Marley. I do. I said Marley, Brother Molly. I do. I like Brother Molly. And I don't want to have a reason not to like Mr. Molly. Don't. So I'm gonna turn this down and make sure we don't get flagged, because if our stuff gets flagged and they lower the volume, I'm gonna have an attitude. I'm gonna have a problem with somebody. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're on, make known yourself, put your name in the comments field so that we can say what's up to you and show you some love.
Come on in here.
Okay, so y'all know what time it is. You see these two marvelous faces sitting in front of you. Let's go on and get this conversation started. Again, welcome to the Marriage Village. Hey, Tyrone, good to see you on to, I think that's something else. My bad.
He's probably on his way.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so who's out there? But more than anything, the question is, how are you doing? Huh? Did you have a good Monday? Did you walk away from work with a smile on your face, and joy in your heart? Did you enjoy yourself on today? That is the question for the moment. How are you doing?
Swan, sound off. You in here. So let us know how you're doing. As for me and my house, it was a Monday, and I'll leave it at that. Yep. What about you, Martin?
Monday today was good. What's up, Richie? Good to see you, boy.
Bel Airs.
Yes. My Monday was good. You know what I say. I have bad moments. Moments stay moments, and they don't become a lifestyle. That's what it is. So my Monday was great. I'm glad to be here and be amongst the land of the living. I'm good. Yep. Doing all right. If you're there, who goes there? Let us know. So what are we talking about today? No, before we do that, wait for it. It's Monday. It's after 9 o'clock. You see these two marvelous faces sitting in front of you. That can mean only one thing. What does that mean? That means it's Marriage Village Monday. Oh, yes. It's Marriage Village Monday. Absolutely. So now that we got all of the shenanigans out of the way, what are we talking about today?
Tonight's topic, Bonsi.
What's up,
What's
Bonsi?
up, sis? Good evening, beautiful. Tonight we are talking about not missing the moment. Don't miss the moment. So a lot of times, as a single person, I didn't really like being single sometimes. I always was looking for what was next. And so I didn't really get the fullness of single life and the fullness of a single experience, I feel, because I was always seeking to be in a relationship. And so I feel like I maybe missed some moments, missed um, some opportunities really to get to know God better, get to know myself better, get to know, just a lot of things. Take advantage of a lot of things that you cannot do
Okay.
when you get married.
All right.
And so on the flip side of that, when people get married, a lot of times they are either so focused on the past or so focused on grinding, trying to get to the future of what's next, that they miss out on the present moments in those relationships. Hey, Vanessa, good to see you
Hello,
tonight.
Vanessa.
So tonight we're talking about don't miss the moment. Wherever you are, for the moment that you're there, maximize it and enjoy it, because once it's gone, it's gone. You can't get it back. You can't get it back. So again, singles, we want to encourage you to maximize your singleness. Get the most out of being single, the most value, the most productivity, the most
No
whatever
doubt.
fulfillment. And then married couples, we want you to do the same. Get the most out of where you are versus dwelling on the past before. And it could be a different place in your marriage, a prior place. It could be a relationship that you were in before you got married. It could be the first marriage. Get out of there and stop always looking to what's next as well. So we're just gonna kind of sit with that
Okay. So
for
where
a
do you
minute.
want to start? Like, which?
So let's start with the singles.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't even know. I mean, we got some singles out here. Um,
So why do you say um, living in the moment is important for a single? Like maximizing the moment of your singleness, maximizing everything that you can get from your singleness, so that when you get into your married season, if that's where you decide to go, it can be impactful.
okay, so I hear people say all the time, I want to live with no regrets,
Okay.
or I want to, I'll just leave it right there. And so I think as a single person, like I said, I was just so focused on yep, Vanessa, we coming. I was so focused on what my eye was seeing as far, or what my mind understood to be fulfillment as far as being in a relationship,
Mhm.
or what my eyes were seeing, my natural eyes were seeing when I looked at married couples. And honestly, I just feel like there's value in just being in the moment. I don't know. Okay, so you miss out on opportunities really to get to know yourself better. So what do I mean by that?
Mhm.
As a single person, you can try things. You can, whether it's trying new recipes, trying new looks, trying new whatever, right? You can
Mhm.
try. You have kind of a little bit of ability to create, to be creative.
Okay.
Whereas once when you get married, now your creativity, I don't want to say is limited, but you do have to consider someone else. And I think that's the main thing. When you're single, it's you and God, and whatever he says, that's what you're living out, right? That's what you're
Okay.
moving in. But when you get married, I mean, the Bible even says, that single people can mind the things of, I don't want to say the world, but they can they have different levels of liberty.
Okay.
But when you get married, your focus is to that marriage, into that union, into that person, into the process of becoming one. And so, again, as a single person, and this is, I'm just going to give some practical, you should be traveling. You should be really taking the time to get to know you. What makes you tick? What sets you off? What do
Okay.
you like?
Okay.
What don't you like? Because
Okay.
here's the thing, when you enter into a relationship with someone, you should already know this stuff. You shouldn't be waiting to get into a relationship to figure these things out.
Okay.
So,
So how important do you feel establishing the right relationship with God is in the moment of your singleness, so that you can appropriately deal with the things that may be a deficiency or in nature or part of your nature in your singleness?
I believe it's 100% imperative to have that relationship established with the Lord, because he will address all those things, and nobody goes into a marriage perfect. No single person comes into a marriage just with
Okay.
everything solved and settled. But I would like to say, if you can, get as much of it resolved and settled
Okay.
as possible,
Okay.
because here's what I know about being single. Um, God wants us to be whole as single people, not looking to a marriage to make us whole, not looking to a marriage to define us or to give us an image. We're created in his image already. And so when we spend that time with him, anything that doesn't look like that image that he created, he's going to bring it to the surface. And then as a single person, it's just, I feel like you um, kind of have more time to work it out, because again, you're not trying to hurry up and get it worked out because somebody else got to live with you. Got to live with you in your deficiencies. You are literally having that time with the Lord where you can have all the things that need to be addressed before getting married addressed.
I think one of the most important things that you can do to embrace capitalizing on your singleness is to grow your relationship with the Lord. I believe when you grow your, hey Luanda, good to see you on the night. Tell our brother we said
Yes, hello,
hello.
hello, hello.
I think the best thing that you can do is take advantage of having that time with the Lord. Like before Cassie and I met one another, I was in a season of intense fasting and prayer. My life was given to the things of God as it was supposed to. Paul tells us that if you're single, then you're supposed to be given to the things of God. So I was an active part of my church home. I was actively seeking the face of God, but I was also being used in the ministry to take care of the things that the ministry need to be taken care of, because I had the time and the space to do it. And as I was doing those things, I was growing as a person, and I was getting better in my ability to love and walk in wholeness. Because in my estimation, wholeness comes in being in relationship with the Lord. Because the areas that are in your blind spot, he brings those things out to you in order to get you to a place where you are whole and that you can be the whole version of who he's called you to be.
Correct.
What's going on, Rashina? What's going on,
Sheena.
Mama? Tell your husband we said hello. Tell Tony we said hi.
Yes, yes, yes.
But
And kiss that
yes,
baby girl. We got
absolutely.
some comments out
Okay,
here.
let's go.
So Vanessa, when we were talking about, as a single, what could you be focusing on? And she said you could focus on you and learn from your past experiences. Correct, right? Because everybody has something from their past that they don't want to repeat. And so as a single person, my suggestion would be look at the way that maybe you've shown up in relationships before, and what about those things, what about you can you change, or what about you needs to be different or better. Never mind what the other person did, because sometimes we get so stuck in that, well, they broke my heart, they hurt me, and that all might be true. But if you're continually looking back at that, you will never move forward in a healthy space.
Okay, so let's make sure that we give appropriate context to that, because again, working on you and not working on you according to what God has purpose and designed for your life is going to be a challenge. You have to work on you to be a better you for community. So if you're working on you in the context of God, it should look like someone who's learning how to be a better person in relationship with other people. It should look like showing up a certain way with certain aspects, because I think sometimes we can take on the world's perspective or truth about working on you or doing you, as they would say, but doing you as a believer versus a non-believer is two different concepts, and we have to make sure that when we're working on us and doing us as a believer, God is in the middle of that whole equation, giving us the appropriate view and the appropriate attributes to take on so that we can be better for the people that we come into contact with.
Correct. So when I say as a single person, getting to know you, exploring you, I'm not talking about dating a whole bunch of people or doing you. I'm going to the club. I'm out to drink. I'm out to turn. I'm not talking about that, those kinds of things. But I'm speaking specifically of are those things literally that you just need to get to know you according to the, who God says you are. And so with that, that's the spiritual side of it. But in the natural, there are things naturally that I do feel, just as a single person, try it, just try things, add some adventure to your life. For example, I know people, and this wasn't me, thank God, but I know people that are single and they don't do anything. They don't go out of the house. They won't go to a restaurant alone. They won't go to a movie alone. They won't go do anything alone because they feel like if they don't have a person, a man, or if they're not in a relationship, then they can't do these things.
Interesting.
So that's the things that I'm talking about. So spiritually, yes, got to do it according to God's plan.
And naturally.
But when I say naturally, I'm talking about, I don't think God cares whether I go to a movie by myself or not. I just don't think that it needs to get down to that level.
I don't
of detail.
think he cares, but if that's how that person's wired, then they have to, first of all, if you are connected to the appropriate community and you're learning how to apply scripture to your life naturally, because I think sometimes we get into that whole spirit and natural, but God created them both. So there's a way that we can live in our natural life that reflects God, as well as our spiritual life that can reflect God as well. So I'm thinking when it comes to that, I don't think there should be a separation in the sense of, okay, in my natural life, I'm going to live this way, and in my spiritual life, because some people will interpret it as that, as the such.
Well, they might, but that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying there are things besides reading the Bible and going to church that a saved individual can do to explore what they like in their person, like what and even trying like cooking foods. So we don't get too deep on this part. You need to know even down to that what you like. Some people have just been so programmed to like whatever somebody else tells them to like as a single person, because it's just that way. And God made you an individual. There are things that are okay for you to prefer. Broccoli over cauliflower. It's fine. It's not a penalty for that. So know the things that you like, the things that speak to you, so that when you enter into a relationship with someone, you can have a conversation. And I like to say beyond the Bible, because that's just, and like I said, I'm not saying buy into the world's concepts, but I'm saying there are more things to talk about in relationship than scriptures. To me, that's a very siloed kind of relationship. And so that's the only thing I'm saying. I'm just like, get to know yourself in that time of singleness, and don't be so ready to just jump into a relationship, because you won't be equipped for the relationship if you don't know yourself, if you haven't spent any time with the Lord to figure out who you are, figure out what you like, what you don't like. Then you will just get into a relationship, and then you will meld into whatever they like, and one day wake up and realize this is not at all who I am. But you know why? Because you didn't take the time to figure that out before you said I do.
Okay.
So we got some more comments. We got Vanessa said you could build yourself in areas then if you could cause you can build yourself in areas that you couldn't if you were in a relationship, because your focus would be on other things. So yeah, and so I totally agree with that. Let's keep. Oh Lord, I'm losing your comments.
I think there's a way that you can live your life as a person who has their own identity and do that within the confines of relationship in life, because people do it all the time. I just think that it takes knowing, like sometimes you don't know that you like or dislike something until you've been approached with the decision to decide if you like it or if you don't like it. And a lot of times those things that you discover that you like or you don't like, 9 times out of 10 it happens in relationship, it happens in family, or it happens at church, or it happens at work, or whatever the case may be. I think community is what develops people. And I think, even in knowing yourself, knowing yourself, you, in my estimation, you don't really know yourself until that's been tested against something. Like if it's you, if it's who you are through and through, that's going to show up when it's tested through and through. When you're in relationship or when you're growing and developing and discovering what you like, you discover those things based off of the experiences of those things. So I think that when you have those moments, you got to have something to test that off of. You got to, if if the only thing I've known is Crest toothpaste, and I've never even tried Colgate. I don't really know if I like Crest over Colgate because I've never tested it against something.
Colgate is
See,
the winner, but
you know,
anyway.
no, Crest
Yeah, no,
is.
no, no.
Crest is the
As you
best.
see, we're on two different sides.
Crest is
I'm a
the
Colgate
best.
girl.
Crest is the best. But I do believe that, you know, this is how you discover, and this is how you shaping you are shaping and molded into discovering what you like and what you don't.
All right. So Vanessa says maybe working on your weaknesses as a single person. 100% agree with that. And maybe accomplishing to be better with God's help, and working as God shows you you.
Amen. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Oh, Vansi has a question. How did y'all know that y'all were soulmates? Does God give us a feeling? I'm tired of counterfeit. Oh, we coming down you. Yeah, let's go ahead. Go ahead.
I think okay, so I'm just gonna give my side of my experience with that place in my life. So I was actively seeking God for his will for my life, not just for marriage or relationship, but just in the general sense. Like, what do you want me to do? Okay, God, like the day before Cassie called, which initiated us moving forward in relationship, before that happened, the night before I asked the Lord, I said, what do you, hear the whole thought before you get into a way.
I
Hear the
ain't in the
whole
way.
hear the whole thought.
I just never mind. Go ahead.
So the thing is the night before she called, my question to God, or my statement to the Lord, is if you want me to be single, I'm okay with that. The next morning I wake up and her voice was the first thing I heard in my voicemail. So from that sparks the conversation between the two of us. But if that call doesn't happen and the prayer doesn't happen before the call, I don't know if we move in that direction, because I wasn't looking for a relationship and you wasn't looking for a relationship. So at the end of the day, that's what it was.
So Vansi, does that help you?
So I think when it comes to developing, just knowing what truth is and knowing where you should be, I think just seeking the Lord and being in that direction, the answer will come in the process of seeking God. That's why it says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all the other things will be added unto you, or will come to you. So as you're seeking God and you're developing yourself in the way of God, those things will come to you based off of you intently seeking him and doing it his way.
So I would say, just like he said, neither one of us was really looking for any relationship. I was going through a process. And so I was cool with friendship, like sincerely cool. I'm not one of them women that's like, oh, we can just be friends, but trying to pursue something else. Mm-mm. Because again, I was in a process, kind of a reparation of being repaired from some things. And so one thing I will say is, I think sometimes, and he kind of led to this, when you are not so focused on getting married or focused on, is this the real one, or is this he the one, or sometimes I feel like that when the focus is not there, that's usually when
Yeah,
it'll show up, it'll happen.
that was really essentially the point. You know what I mean? Because if you're not going after it, but you're going after God, this, I can only give you my experience, right? if you're going after God, the scripture says that if you seek after him, all of the other things that you desire or you're looking for will come in the process of seeking him first, and then seeking the righteousness. When he can give you the greater things when you're in a righteous place, because you're not being uh uh blocked off because you're in a season of sin. You know what I mean? God is just he's so great at what he does, and he knows how to get the best out of you. So he's not going to bring you something before you're ready to necessarily be able to manage it on just a base level.
And I will say, I do want to add one thing for my singles, and then we can kind of get into some of the married stuff. Blocked off because of sin. Let me tell you right now, sin will cloud your vision, single people. Sin will have you thinking the person you sleeping with that is not your husband is your husband.
No doubt.
And hear me clearly. I'm not saying that people that fornicated before they got married were not meant to be married. Understand what I'm saying? What I am saying is, well, if you're having sex before you are getting married, if y'all humping and bumping, your vision is going to be skewed depending on how great that sex is.
Because
I'm gonna just tell you right now. Go ahead.
Because your emotions are going to take over your judgment versus your mind taking over your judgment according to truth. Emotions will skew truth. And when you are operating in skewed truth, you can't have good vision, because blurred vision is bad vision. If you have let's just look at, if somebody spray you in your eyes with something and you can't see, what's the first thing that you do? You stop. And I think that's a natural response to, because if I can't see and I continue to move, I can mess myself up. But the thing is a lot of times we don't see it that way, because when you get sex involved, it's always going to blur the line.
Facts.
Because now you're going to be thinking with your emotional mind, and not your rational mind.
Yep. And so, and I'm telling you from personal experience. That's what I want, because, and I just keep it real. You know, we keep it real with the singles, because I was jaded, y'all. I mean, you cannot think that operating in sin is going to bring a righteous outcome. It just doesn't work that way. That's not God's plan. It's not his order. It's not how it works. And so I just want to say that, because, you know, people kind of hint around like, okay, let me. People kind of hint around to things
that test driving is good. No, test driving is not good because test driving is sin, and God does not bless sin. That's just, you can't go anywhere in the scriptures and see God blessing sin.
No, you can't. And what I mean by people kind of move around it, there were a few people that told me directly, this is not going to work. This ain't it, right? There were probably maybe 2 that came out and said that. But then just sometimes people, I don't know, people don't feel like they don't have a close enough relationship to say this is not going to work, or this is not right, or this is sin. But we need to get back to that level of accountability in the body of Christ, where if I see you getting ready to run out in the middle of in the street, and there's a semi about to smash you, I need to say something, you know, right? And so I just want to be that big sis, that auntie, whoever I am to you, that person that says, sis, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna get it, right? That's not gonna end how you think. And so it's not gonna work out for you. And it's not to say that being mean, but just the reality of it, because Satan is not playing. He wants to cause us, you know, he wants to put these things before us. We go into the temptation, and then we're all busted up when it doesn't work out.
When has sin ever worked?
Never.
When has it ever worked out for me? It hasn't. Christ had to come because sin jumped in. So how's that going to work? And it was never meant to work, and it cannot work. What does this say?
She said, I've been told that if he sleeps with you before he marries you, chances are he won't marry you. I think that I you know, looking at my life, previous life, that holds true. That holds true. And so does the opposite. When you don't, they will.
Well, I think that when sex enters the picture becomes muddy.
Hmm.
It just does. And it can't lead. I'm not gonna say it can't. Okay, let me reword that. 9 times out of 10, it's not gonna lead to a fruitful situation.
Mm-mm.
So you can just take that for what it's worth. It's going to blur the lines.
And here's the other thing, the other little nugget, if I could drop it for singles, is um how do I say this? It takes more than good sex to build a marriage. Now that helps. It certainly enhances it, but it takes more than that to have a strong marriage, to build a solid marriage. And so I just want to put that out there in advance so that you know it's going to take more than that to keep your marriage strong.
Well, I think when you understand the nuances of God and how He built all of this, it's a progression. Like when you go on a journey, it's like, to me, it's almost like a scavenger hunt. You're looking for the goal. Like when you go up, when you built your search on the appropriate search tactics, you will have success. And I think a lot of times some of us build our search off of the wrong tactics and the wrong ways to doing it. And because that had a level of success, it breeded a false reality. And so now you're moving in a whole way, but because that false reality gave you a true hope that wasn't built on the true hope. So now it's never unless you get to the place where that your mind has been transformed and now you can see the error of your way and see why certain things are what they are. You're not going to be able to capitalize on having that moment because of what you allow in to throw your vision off from the first in the first place.
Facts. All right. Any other comments for our singles on maximizing the moment, like living in the moment? I know there was another comment. Elder Sis said about, she says, I enjoy my own company. I go to the movies, jazz clubs, to listen to live music, etc. And so, yeah, so those are some of the things I'm talking about. As a single person, um, be cool with you, love
Yeah.
who you are. You don't have to, it doesn't take someone else to add value to who
Right.
you are, is really the thing that I kind of want to drive home with that, because I'm telling y'all, something in my brain felt like if I wasn't married, I was not worthy, or there was an unworthiness, or um, I don't even know what you want to call it. I'm just using that because I don't have another word right now. But I was diminishing my value as a single person. Like I really didn't have anything to offer the world if I was not in a marriage where I was caring for someone or caring for children or those kinds of things. And really, like the comment before, Kenosis Elias say, get to know all of you, as much of you as possible, and enjoy it until God sends that person. Because what happens is um, when we don't enjoy it, sometimes we will force ourselves into situations that don't end well. When we don't learn how to appreciate what God is doing for us in a moment, it leads to premature marriages. It leads to marriages that should have never probably even happened, um, because we put the parameters around what we want and what it should be and what we feel we should have, what we think we deserve, right? And so don't get sucked into that.
Yeah, I think I got a list of thoughts going on right
I'm
now,
sure you do.
and I just think that when it comes like the scripture that came to mind is "Be not wise in your own eyes." I think just having as your maturing along and going in developing that place in your singleness, I think it is just good to a have your wise men available. Have people that you hang around with that have have had spiritual success and know how to show you how to be in the right direction in life across the board, whether in church or in life or in business, whatever the case may be. Have some people around you that know more than you, see further than you do, know how to direct you in a way that can give you the ability to gain the wisdom that you need to be better as a person holistically.
Mhm. All right, let's talk to the marrieds. And some of this is still applicable to singles. So I had a thought and I just put it in the chat. I want to hear your heart on this. I want to hear what you, and when I say hear your heart, I want to hear what you have to say. If you're in a new marriage or relationship and you're still reminiscing about the old one, your new is in jeopardy.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, we as people, man, we can just be messed up people. And I just I don't know. I just think that we really have to get down to knowing what our truth is. What is your truth based off of? What is the sole source of the totality of truth in your life? What is that based off of?
Elaborate.
What I mean is like what's leading your heart and governing your heart in truth? Because I think sometimes we have, because we struggle with truth, we struggle with knowing how we truly feel or see things in life because we're not really rooted in truth. Like there are certain things that, regardless of what's going on around me in life, because I'm rooted in a truth, and that is the word of God, and that being the final authority as to what I believe and how I approach what I believe. I think that to me has to be very important because if you're a whole like 40 years old and you still can't make a decision because there's still a whole bunch of question marks around that decision, or there's still some uneasiness around that decision, and then now this is showing up and you brought another person into that equation, that's that's pretty scary.
That is. And so, villagers, what do you say? You know, if you're in a new relationship or a new marriage and you're still reminiscing about the last one, like literally, they have moved on and now you've moved on, but all you can talk about is, well, all you can talk about is, I remember when me and whoever used to do this and we used to go here and we used to do this, but you're in a new situation. How in the world, because that, how in the world can that new thing thrive if you are constantly lingering in the past, not maximizing the moment?
This is my thing. And this is exactly why I said what I said. If I haven't resolved that old situation, I should have never got into the new
Correct.
situation.
Correct.
If I had truth leading and guiding me in that place, I don't make those decisions because I have realized the truth. When you're, for example, if you're dating someone, you already know you're still infatuated or in love with someone else. And if that's where you are, common sense says, according to truth, you shouldn't be in that relationship, neither should you be married.
Facts. And so what happens is, what I've seen happen and what people have talked to me about happening is that they were so afraid of not being in a relationship or not getting married, even though their heart was still with someone else, and that person had moved on, and they knew that door, they mentally knew that door was closed. And so in faith, and this, I'm like, oh God, we were really messed up right here. In faith, they went on ahead with the new relationship, just believing that God would make it be what it needs to be. And that's not right either, right? Because you are still literally, another situation is closed off, it's done, it's over, but in your heart, you haven't healed. So that's another reason why I say singles, maximize the moment where you are. Let God fully heal that before you move forward, because it is pretty selfish to know that I'm really just moving forward in the next relationship because I don't want to be alone.
Then what do you do in the relationship that you're in now?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I'm saying if that's what you discovered and that's your truth.
Oh, you need to break up. Yeah, you need to break up. And literally, who knows if that relationship will come back together. But I feel like being honest and saying, I'm not over this thing that I just got out of. I respect you enough not to move forward in this. And I respect myself enough to sit and get healed. Right. I feel like any God-fearing person would understand that. They might be upset and angry in the moment. But I think I think I would understand. Like if you came to me and said, you know what, I know we have started down this path, but I'm realizing I'm just not ready. I'm still messed up from this, that, or the other. My feelings would have been hurt, but I get that as a grown up, because I don't want to continue in a relationship with somebody that is still connected somewhere else.
I think this is just my take on it. I think that if you're a true believer and you know and believe scripture, there's a different way that you handle that. That's just my
so
opinion.
Share that.
I feel like when you enter into covenant with God, you don't get to dictate the terms of that covenant. You have a right you have a right way to handle it. Now you can choose, because God is not going to make you do anything.
Correct.
You can choose to, allow that to be your reason to get out, or whatever the case may be. And I would say you're leaning to your own understanding, because I believe that if you go to God and you asked him to point your heart in a direction, and you ask him to deal with whatever it is that you established beforehand, because now you're here and you're
so wait a minute, are you talking about married or just in a dating? Because that's not what I'm talking about.
I thought you were talking about,
no,
because you said we're switching to married, so I'm thinking this applies to married.
But the conversation flipped back over to single people who
oh, okay, then that's a different story.
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not talking about getting a divorce now that you got married and you realize you're messed up. No,
that's why I asked what I asked.
Oh, no, I'm talking about if we are dating.
Oh yeah,
and we find out I'm still over here or whatever.
Get out.
That's why I said you need to break up. So hear me. When I'm talking about singles, I'm going to say break up. I will not tell a married person. I don't encourage divorce. I wasn't tracking. But divorce is the word for the married when I'm talking, and then breakup is for singles.
Okay.
And so, because we did move into married, but then we split back over into just reiterating the importance of singles. Because when you get married, you don't want to still be in. You don't want to be like. That was the. Let me go back up here. Let me restate my question. I mean, my statement.
No, you said the question, but when we got done expounding with the people and their responses, you said we're now transitioning to the marriage. So when you asked that question, that question was asked. You put that question after you said.
Okay, got it. No, I was 100% talking about because somebody said something and we kind of transitioned back over to singles needing to get this stuff straight before they move into marriage.
Okay.
So we did kind of jump back and forth a little bit with that. Okay. So to be clear, I was specifically speaking to singles that are in a relationship. They're dating somebody and they realize in their dating that they still are not over something from the past. You need to just go ahead and break up. And that's why I said any rational person I would understand that if if we were dating and you were like, hey, we need to pause or we need to whatever because
The word says say what that song. There's one of my favorite songs. They say what you need to say.
and so Elder Sis said, this is true because you will never get 100% of your person as long as a part of you is still with the previous
Amen.
person. That's
Amen.
not fair to you or the new person. Amanda says it goes both ways. Reminiscing
Oh, okay.
bad and the good of a previous relationship is detrimental. Absolutely, because if you so your whoever, and so now we're back. Let me be clear. We're back in marriage when we're talking about marriage now. If you are a married person constantly thinking about the good times, you're going to always compare, you're going to be comparing that to where you are now, and it's not fair. This is a completely different person. God has planned completely different experiences. It's just different, it's new, and it's not that thing. And so it does not deserve, to be compared to that. And even because here's what happens, I've heard of even some married couples, um, women, and I mainly deal with women, so that's all my references are mainly to women that reminisce about previous relationships with their previous marriage where they had money to do this and they could go on these trips and go. But do you know that talking about that to your current spouse, who maybe is not able to provide that for you, pulls them down. It will make your spouse feel like, oh man, I'm not as good as, or I cannot do as much as. And really, it's not fair. It's not fair and it's not right. And so it can be very detrimental.
I'm trying to find these lyrics that Jonathan McReynolds had. It was like talking about comparison and
Comparison kills.
how
That's the song.
comparison, how when you're constantly comparing your now to something from the past, what's now can never live because the comparison of the past is killing it. So I think we have to get to the place where we're not living in comparisonville.
Mhm.
Like, why do that? Why why live in that space when you don't have to? And it's not going to breed anything good. Because comparison, if you're the only comparing we should be doing to ourselves,
I put it on here,
should be us comparing ourselves to that of Christ. That's it.
well, I didn't say it quite like that, but that is true. But well, I put it down here, but we need to go back and get some of these comments. I said the only thing you should be comparing against the old relationship is how you showed up then versus how you're showing up now. Have you grown, or are you still the same person to a fault? So if I'm doing anything, I'm looking at, all right, am I a better person today in my now than I was before? Or am I still selfish like I was before? Am I still short-tempered like I was before? Right? So that's where I'm saying I'm going to compare, have I grown? And am I better? Because that's what we're about. Is we should be going from faith to faith and from glory to glory. That's a progression to better.
Yeah, I
You
think
want to read your lyrics?
it's just it to me, I just think that we have to just be very careful with these comparisons and where it's being driven from.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not paying attention to where that comparison or where that thought or that emotion is coming from, that could be something that could be leading you down a path of destruction. What is Jasmine? What is she saying?
So the question on the floor is, how do you move on from that situation? Just curious. So Jazz, let me see. The situation of, give us more, because I know we kind of jumped around a little bit, and so I don't know
I
where
think
your
she was talking
question
about
was
the
placed.
just the whole if you find, if you're in a relationship and you find yourself reminiscing about your old partner, or you discover that your partner, you're still in love with someone else, what do? You tell the truth and get out of it.
Yeah.
Or tell the truth. And if you're willing to deal with that truth and get over it, and that person is still willing to work with you and stay with you, that's an agreement that you both have to make on your own together, to go in that direction if that's where you guys want to go.
So my question is, do you think that if a person is in that situation, and they want to stay with who they're with, but they just need to work to get that other stuff out.
Hmm.
Do you think it's necessary to tell that person, or you think telling that person is going to create an
I just
issue?
think what the circumstance. It just depends on the circumstance. If if you're in the situation and you haven't said anything, but you want to stay in it and you want to work through it, then I think at some point in time you're probably going to have to end up having a conversation if you're you're getting in arguments and you're making comparative statements, because that person is probably already like, you ain't over this person. So I think at that point then the conversation probably needs to happen, because again you're probably already acting in a manner that is suggesting that is where you are.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So let me see. Let's go to Bonsi. She said, self knows self. We know what we want. And if we are willing to, wait a minute, we know what we want. And if we are willing to,
Yeah,
yeah. So
no
that's the
doubt,
truth. And so that goes back to
no
Joe's
doubt.
original comment, about just being honest with yourself and speaking that truth. I'm not in a good place. I don't think I should pursue as a single person. I don't think I should be pursuing this relationship any further.
Absolutely, because you're not doing your significant other any favor by
Mm-mm.
staying when your heart is not really there. And I think as long as we what's that? I think.
That was my comment
Oh, okay.
about comparison. Like you should be comparing you to you. I am my competition. I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be better than I was last year. I'm not going to be comparing this marriage to my first marriage. But first of all, it's no comparison. 1 year under the same roof and two on paper versus 18 years in September. It's a no brainer, right? It's not even a comparison
I,
at
I
all. No
would
disrespect. It's just not.
I would probably word it a little bit better, or not better, but different.
Where what?
The comparison to my,
Oh, okay, that
I would
part.
say compare. I would
Okay.
say the appropriate comparison is Christ, because in comparing yourself to Christ, you will see where you need to get better, and you'll have the source to get better. You see what I'm
Comparing to
saying?
Christ or comparing against the word? I mean,
Well, we get to compare ourselves in Christ based off of what we know in the Word of
okay.
Christ.
I want to make sure I post it right. That's why I'm
Yeah, no,
asking.
I'm just saying, like, you have to know that that's He's the mark. It says, press toward the mark of the high call, which is in Christ Jesus. So our goal should be to be as good as Him. Like, I'm not going to compare myself to myself, because that's not, to me, that's like, no, I don't want to compare. Listen, I'm the problem. I'm not comparing the problem to the problem. I'm comparing my problem to the solution. He's the
Correct.
solution.
Correct.
I'm
No,
the
I agree
problem.
100% with that, but I still stand by what I said as far as when I say compare myself to myself. When I say that, I'm not saying that the new me is the final answer, but I'm saying I should be better than I was yesterday
Okay.
in my, whether it is, like I said, having my attitude, being selfish or not. There should be some natural growth in the relationship that comes through that spiritual connection. And so that's why I say, when I say compare myself to myself, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, like
Are
better
you
than
saying more doing
for growth.
introspective
Correct.
look in yourself?
Correct.
Okay,
And
okay.
we always are going to be probably on a different side of the coin just because Joe is going to always give you're going to get Bible 100%. That's it. Right. And so for me, and there's nothing wrong with that, but for me, I'm also trying to figure out how to naturally apply that biblical stuff into my natural person so that I can like practically walk it out. So that's why sometimes it feels to me like we're on like
No,
opposite
I
sides of
just
the
think we
coin.
see it. I think that we see it. We just see it. We see it from our experience. So you have a different
Touche.
experience than I have had. I've had to live my life this way. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anything else. I didn't have anyone else. I didn't have certain things that maybe you had early on. You know what I mean? And maybe I had certain things that you didn't have. early on. So the way I see it, like when you've been raised by a man that lives his life off that scripture, and that's all you've seen, and that's pretty much all you know, that's how you're gonna view it. That's because that's how I was shaping and molded. So that's how I see it, because from infancy stages to now, that's the only thing I got to see really. You know what I mean? So I'm not
Gotcha.
saying that is any one way is better. I just think that when you see things from a certain perspective, it it gears you in a certain direction.
Gotcha. Wait a minute, we got
Dr. Patrick, what's
this
up,
needs a
man?
few, and I'm not gonna do it tonight. So Dr. Patrick is asking, how are you defining reminisce? Because when I'm talking about when you so the comment was, let me go back to the comment. I want to make sure I get it correctly
Mm-hmm.
stated here. Oh, come on, girl. Tell me when I get to.
I think you went by. Okay.
There it is. So the comment was, if you're in a new marriage or relationship and you are still reminiscing about the last one, your new is in jeopardy. So when we were talking about reminiscing, we kind of went more into um, thinking about highlights from that relationship,
Yeah.
and then kind of comparing it to what you have now in this relationship. So almost like this new relationship pales in comparison to when we went to this place, or when we did this, or the way we could communicate. That's what I'm talking about, like lingering on those things. Or I just remember how he used to touch me, or like the other person, and you don't touch, this person in this marriage, the touch is different, like those kinds of things that could cause your new person to feel like you would rather still be there. So that's what when we're saying reminiscing on, or kind of lingering in those old indulgences. And I don't know, I'm saying indulgences, but that may not be the right word. But that's what we're talking about, like things that and when I say reminisce, now here's the thing. Nobody can tell somebody what to think about, but what we're saying is, if you're constantly thinking on how great the other thing was, or how much better it was than where you are now, then your now is in jeopardy. It's not going, it can't stand a chance.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully that makes sense. Jazz had a question.
Where are we at?
That one.
Okay.
So she said, well, she had a statement. Oh, that's going, let me take it off and then I'll just read it from here.
Okay.
She says, I feel like my situation is different because I strongly believe God brought us back together. But there are times when things could be better. And I think about how things were different with a past relationship. But I do just focus on how we can grow as a couple and can fill that void. Is that wrong? Sorry if I'm confusing.
No, I just think you want to answer that because I always go first.
No, you go. Go ahead. I'll come around.
Um, I just think comparing it to anything, like I just think that, and again, I'm talking from my experience of life. Okay, I don't want to compare anything to right now to what I came from. I just don't want to do that. It's nothing good that's going to come from that. Like I don't want to remember that situation. I don't want to, and it's not because I don't like people. It's because what benefit does it give me to do that?
And then the other piece is, it could lead you in your emotions back, opening back up for that other person. And again, if you're in a marriage, a new marriage,
Listen,
you don't want to be entertaining anything that's going to open up that that's going to reopen, those desires, because you will in some way head back in that other direction. And that just can't, that will not be good for your new.
it was over for a reason. It's over. Like for me, I don't dwell on what, I don't care about anything good that the ex did, because the ex is an ex, is excommunicated out of my life. Don't need to think about it. Don't need to go in that direction. Don't need to have no comparisons there because this is a completely different situation and a completely different person. I'm not. I don't have the energy and or the time to go back and look. Why?
So, Jazz, what we will say, I will say, I won't say that it's right, or I'm not telling you that it's wrong. It's just not helpful or beneficial. Here's the other way I measure it. If what I'm thinking, if I said out loud, if I said what I'm thinking out loud to Joe, how would he feel, or what would his response be? That helps me kind of put into perspective what, the things that maybe I should have been moving away from in my thought process. And so again, if just think about it. If I said to Joe, um, I'm going to say exactly what you said here. I'm going to use your example. I just remember the last relationship I was in, our finances, we were just in a better financial situation. We could do more, right? How do you think that's going to make him feel? When I was with JoJo Dancer, we went on trips, it was just better. We didn't have to worry about, these bills. How does that sound to the person I'm in relationship? How does that sound to their ear? Or if he would say to me, when I was with Lucy Lou, she kept her body together better. She was more listening. She was more
What good
compassionate.
does it do?
How does that help me?
What is that going to benefit you now? Okay, let's use the situation or the example that you gave. All right, if Lucy Lou was in better shape, what does thinking about that and reminiscing on that now going to help in this moment? It's not. It's not going to help you. It's not going to resolve anything.
Mm-mm.
So I'm only doing things that's going to bring resolve or give me a better perspective to make me better as a person.
Okay, so we got some. Ooh, I love it. Okay, Elder Sis says, we can erase. Oh, we can't erase the person out of our life simply because they were a part of our life. Thinking back doesn't mean you want them back. And so, no, we're not. Let's be clear. We're not saying that you won't have moments where you think about things. But when we say reminiscing, like continually thinking about the old thing,
I disagree
it's
with
not.
all y'all.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
You,
well.
Elder Sis, I disagree with all y'all. And this is why I don't. There is nothing my old situation can. No, I don't need that. Why do I need that? I don't need that. I don't need to think. I don't need to reminisce on any of that because what you know what I need to reminisce on? I need to reminisce on what's been good here when I get in a bad place, not comparing it to anything else because what you start thinking about other people, you start going into other directions. And I just feel like that's a very slippery slope. And I'm playing, y'all know how I am. I'm
So
sarcastic.
here, and so let me bring it into context, because and we're not saying this is the end all be all. Y'all know this is the village. This is not always the end all be all. It is wisdom based on our experience. And so what I will say is this: if you constantly are thinking about the good times in the other situation, or constantly thinking about the way they touched you or how you felt, you will get trapped into wanting to chase that feeling. It's almost like it's not the same, but it's similar in my mind. The only reference I'm getting is to somebody that is chasing a high, right? When you say,
thank you, Rashina.
When you say your emotions, because Jasmine, she said it's not that she's wanting that person, but it's the feeling that she had in that situation. She's looking for that here. And so I know feelings are fleeting. And so we want to, honestly, I want to feel better in this situation than I did over there, because I don't want, I don't want to have that, what is the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. And so I feel like emotional attachments and those keeping those emotional doors open are more of a threat to your new relationship than what we sometimes give it credit.
And I believe this right here. All right. We should, like, okay, we can't, Elder Swan, Elder Sis, we can't erase people, but we can erase feelings and memories that are not beneficial to our now. You can erase that. And you should erase that
And that's the
because it's
imprinting.
not going to be good for you if you don't.
Yeah, and then certain things, and we don't have the time to go into soul ties tonight, but when you've been involved in certain relationships, primarily previous marriages, there are soul ties. And sis, we talked about this, the difference between soul ties, what is a soul tie and what it isn't. And so I will move away from the words soul ties and say imprint, and fingerprints.
Yeah, I just like, how do you erase it? Don't think about it. And what the word say?
Bring it.
Bring that thing captive.
Yeah.
Make it obey the obedience of Christ in your life.
Let me get
Bring
that
that
scripture.
thing, bring it into captivity. Every vain imagination and thought that wants to rise itself above the obedience of Christ in your life.
And it takes prayer. Sometimes for
It
me, it took
does.
prayer and therapy. I'm
It
not even gonna
does.
lie, just to
Just do the needful, man.
undo and like get that stuff out, because I am, you all know, we say it all the time, I'm a feeler, an empath. I feel all of my feelings. And so that's how I show up to, I want to feel, in the relationship. And so that's a lot of times where the enemy trapped me, and I allowed him. I walked into some traps because of my feelers. And so you have to bring those thoughts. Yes, she said, so basically rebuke, rebuke, rebuke.
No doubt, Rashina.
Yeah, Sheena says, if we can't erase people, but I will be mad if my husband was still reminiscing about
Let
an
me tell.
ex.
Okay. I'm just gonna go on and say it.
And I mean, there's a
Y'all
righteous
can hate me if you
indignation that
want to.
spouses will have. So go ahead.
All right, you can't erase people because people can't be erased. They're people, right? But you can erase memories of people, and you should. Especially in the area of your intimacy life and your day-to-day relational life, and you're comparing that. Nah, that's no. And I believe that's not what you're saying, Elder Sif. I'm just saying um that in certain areas there's an absolute delete and erase that needs to happen. I don't need to be thinking about other sexual experiences.
Jeffrey, what's that group? Leave the door open. What's the group? Bruno and
Silk Sonic.
we don't want to leave the door open.
Hold on. Let me see what Elder Sis said.
She said, acknowledging something doesn't mean taking sides with something. You're just simply acknowledging it, whether it's good or bad.
Okay.
We'll give it.
Okay.
We're gonna get out of heart.
But I do vehemently disagree in erasing. You can erase and you should erase and delete certain things. I stand on that.
Oh,
Ever since I stand 10 toes down.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
But I just think that in all this stuff, people, let's find a balance in it. Really, let's find. Oh no,
No.
I'm just saying in the general sense, if the reminiscence is tied to a sexual thought or memory or an emotional memory or thought that could potentially cause issues here, I think you shouldn't. I think the scripture does talk about having a renewed mind, um, being transformed, and so then we get into the breaking down of transforming and renewing. So I do believe there are certain things about my before Christ experience that I absolutely do not remember. And I do believe that is because when I chose to walk in the renewed mindset, there were some things that had to be erased and forgotten so that I could move past. So I would say the renewing, the transforming, and the renewing is the part that because as I'm being transformed, there are some things that need to go into the sea of forgetfulness. It needs to be tossed far away from me so that I don't have easy access to the memory or to the thought.
Mhm.
I think Elvis has said something.
Sorry, I'm getting these scriptures. Uh,
Well, that's on a computer.
They're in the cloud, and where's the cloud? Heaven, a heavenly place. They're with the Lord.
Listen,
Put them
don't
with the
don't don't
Lord.
don't,
Let them
don't
go
come for
on
me,
up.
Doc. Don't
Go
come
on
for me,
up.
sis. Don't come for me. You already know. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but I do believe that in certain capacities, there are moments where we have to grab these thoughts and make them go in a direction. And I do, like I said, I can only go off of my experience. There are certain things that I don't, when I got saved, I didn't remember certain things. I can't say that was your experience, but I can say it was mine. So, let me see.
Jeff said, "Control Alt Delete."
Absolutely.
Oh man!
But if I do a reimage, Doc, no, don't play with me. If I do a reimage, it's gone.
Don't do this.
I'll reformat. Listen, you know I work in IT, so I know all the tricks of the trade.
My Lord, this could go all night.
Listen, but nah, man, I do enjoy the different perspectives, and I do believe that that's what the village is all about. A holistic perspective. Dr. Patrick, you already know, man. I really love just you, Elder Sis, everybody, all you guys on here, your perspectives. We do honor them. Although I might disagree, I might vehemently disagree from time to time. It doesn't impact my love and my respect towards you as a person.
At all.
Let's see.
But now I will say, Dr. Patrick, I'm gonna go ahead and do some digging and research. I know psychology and the inner healing. I know that's your space that you walk in, that transformative space. Yeah, I got a little passion around that as well. So
Well, I think
I'm getting ready to dig in on some research on the whole mind thought erasing.
this is where I stand. It says, "Put to death what is earthly in you."
Mm-hmm.
So, if this is a thought that was contrived by the flesh nature, it needs to be deaded. It needs to be erased and let go of. So that's where I come from. I
got you.
So, like even in Romans 12:1-2, and that's where you're coming from, being transformed by the renewing of your mind. Verse 1 says, becoming a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. And then I believe in that sacrifice, that living sacrifice, something is dying and something is living. That is it, because they compare that to Luke 3. The reference scripture of that particular part of the scripture is based off of Luke 3, where it's talking about the sacrifice according to Old Testament and how the sacrifice had to be brought on the hands of obedience. So, but something had to die in that process. That's the point I was making.
And one last little thing on this: when you let thoughts linger, and back on that whole reminiscing piece, when you let those things linger, you subconsciously start becoming indifferent in your current relationship when it's not measuring up to what you thought you had before.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart starts becoming indifferent, and it may not be a drastic turn, but just little by little, if you continue to entertain those things and compare it against where you are now, and where you are now is not measuring up to what you feel you had, you will become indifferent, and you will begin to see a decline in your relationship, in your marriage. I've seen it, I've watched it play out in the lives of just different people over the 18 years we've been together, just different people we've walked with, we've coached, we've kind of got receipts on some of this stuff. And so again, it's not a one size fit all model. It's not the same absolutely for everybody, but these are just things that we just put out here for you all to guard against, and just to even do what you're doing, kind of like volley it back and forth, lob it back and forth. I don't think that's right, or maybe this is right. that's what the purpose of the village is, to get our minds going and stimulated and thinking in different directions.
I mean, Amanda, she has this thought, and she says, "I think for me, it makes more sense to think of erase as putting it to bed or so, soothing those memories. They're still there, but not on the forefront ever. It takes work with God on your side."
Absolutely. Absolutely. It definitely takes work, because here's the thing, our brains are like sponges. But I just read, I was in a training, and they have research that proves your brain can like be healed and reformed. And so um I don't know, God and science go together for me. They go together. So you don't, I don't God created science, and he created, biology, and the way that our anatomy and the way that our bodies function. And so I do believe, things can be erased just because of the power of the power of God. So but I totally agree with Amanda as well. So I don't know what else we got. We good?
We
We
good.
wrapping it up?
Listen, we need you guys to be putting these things in your mind. The things I'm about to call off. We have the Marriage Village Conference going on in Salisbury, Indiana, October 25th and 26th. Listen, we have we had some tricks up our sleeves. We got some we got we got some stuff for y'all. You want to make sure you get in the house. It's going to be very very impactful. I do believe that. I do believe that you want to be in the house.
And
Don't
this is for married, I'm sorry to cut you off, married
yes.
and single.
Yeah.
A lot of times our singles stay away because they're like, oh, that's for married people. No, it's not. We got something for y'all as well. And literally, what you get in these gatherings and these conferences are um, cheat codes. It's cheat codes, right? And it's really for any single person that desires to be in a relationship, desires to be married, desires to walk in wholeness in those, in either, dating or married. It's for you too. So it's not just for the married folks, and it's not for marriages that are just struggling. That's another
Yeah.
misnomer. People feel like, thank you, Mom Coles, I'm using your word today. People feel like, oh, I don't want to go to a marriage retreat or gathering or conference because it means my marriage is struggling. Not necessarily, because if you're in a strong marriage, guess what? You have something to contribute to the conversation to help strengthen others.
You
And
certainly
if you
do.
are coming and your marriage is, on its last leg or on the last straw, definitely come, right? So it's for all. It's for all.
Absolutely. And if you don't have a church home and you're looking for somewhere to be and you're in the Louisville or Indiana area, or if you are more of a person that can want to do the online thing, you are more than welcome to become a part of Church in the Village.
Come on
We
in.
would love to be your pastors and be able to walk with you in life. Our Bible studies are on Tuesdays from 7 to about 8:30. And right now, our services are every third Saturday from now until January, and then we will go. We will be going to every Saturday, 5 to 6:30 or 7, every week,
Starting in
starting in
January.
January. Okay. So, what you saying, Vancy?
And Bible study is online, by the way. Go ahead. What she said, you can catch
She says, "I'm in school for my marriage."
her.
So
Yes,
I'm so
ma'am.
grateful and thankful for y'all allowing God to work through y'all. No doubt. We love y'all, man.
Love y'all.
And like I said,
Absolutely.
we're not the what is that? The we're not the
End all be all.
end all be all or the it's the authority. It's something that they say on the commercials now.
Final authority, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember, but anyway, we just want to be a source for you to bounce things off, get truth, get word, and we're not the only one in the village that can give you that. We have, um, yes, epitome, absolutely. Thanks, sis. But I think when it comes to having the heart of helping you get the tools that you need, because when we had our moment, we discovered we didn't have the tools. And so we had to go we had to go in a season. I know you do, sis. We had to go on a season of discovery to find the tools. And now we have found the tools and we found tools that work, and we want to share those tools and resources with you. So that's what we do this for. So yeah. But we're gonna get on out of here because we've done our time. And so if you have any questions or any comments that you want to share offline, you can send us an email to themarriagevillage@gmail.com. If you want to sew into the marriage village, what is the
$ the marriage village at Cash App.
absolutely. And again, if you want to do Bible study with us tomorrow, we will be on at 7 o'clock. I was thinking we was gonna change it, but never mind. And talking about that. So see you tomorrow if you want to be on. We love you guys. Have yourself an amazing week. And then do me this favor. Walk in love, people. Okay? Let's just do that. Okay? Okay? Okay. All right, people.
That's
we love
terrible.
y'all.
That's awful.
Okay.
Love you all. Thanks for joining us.
All right, peace.
Tonight,
Love
we'll
y'all,
see y'all
man.
next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Later.
Later.